Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Howdy, all y'all. This is red.olaughlin, and we're on the USA Global TV and Radio Network, Talking Heads portion. We're also found on the E360 Radio TV network. We're found on Roku, Amazon Fire, and lately on Zizzle, and there's several others. But please join us every week. Our shows are archived on YouTube on the USA Global TV, so please join us there for any past shows you'd like to catch up on. I've been running. Let me go ahead and load up the slides so we can get things going here today. There we go. First one. Before I get into the disclaimer, I chose nutrition for a particular reason. It kind of brought me back into my true love of chemistry, something I fell in love with in high school, long before I ever met my wife. And my wife, let's see, about 2013, so a little over 10 years ago, came down with breast cancer in the process of surgery, chemotherapy, radiation. One of the things that I had done was trying to get my chemistry knowledge used to find out what can I do to help her, primarily with the after effects, side effects of the chemo drugs and everything. Well, I read this book by Dr. Terry Wahls, W-A-H-L-S. She's an internist. And late in her career, she came down with MS, multiple sclerosis. And no matter what the doctors did, new prescriptions, treatments, etc., she got worse and worse. Finally ended up in a wheelchair for a few years. And I guess because of her own frustrations, decided to do a study of the autoimmune system and published her book called The Wahls Protocol. And my wife was finishing up chemo. I extended the time frame between chemo and radiation. They wanted to do it almost back to back, and we said nope, we just let her have a chance to recover a little bit. Well, in the process, I read this book. I said, this woman had multiple sclerosis, in a wheelchair for years. She put herself on this protocol. It's 4 parts. And I said, Marilyn, my wife, I said, let's just try the dietary portion, one protocol. And Dr. Wahls, within 3 months, was able to get out of a wheelchair and walk using a walker. A month later, she could walk using a cane. And then by the end of the year, she's bicycling 18 miles. I see her all the time on social media, and you'd never know she had a problem. So I put my wife on this one, and the whole premise of this protocol is that it balances 30 plus nutrients the body needs on a daily basis. My wife was taking 1, 2, or 3 2-hour naps a day, wasn't eating, wasn't doing anything, just fatigue out the gazoo. So I put her on that, and we couldn't eat the meals that the size of the quantity of the meals that Dr. Terry Wahls recommended. But we got through a couple of them, and amazingly, and true amazing, was the fact that going into day 3, after 48 hours, she no longer was taking naps. 7 days, she was back up at the church volunteering her time. We started radiation treatment, and the doctor pretty much guaranteed us that her fatigue would get worse. Most of the other side effects we had under control. Fatigue, no. Anyway, we started radiation, and there were several weeks of that after months and months and months of chemo. Anyway, last day of radiation, we left the facility, drove to Jacksonville, Florida from Houston. It's about 1,000 miles. And I picked up a U-Haul, loaded my parents' stuff in it, and she followed me 500 miles each day by herself in the car behind the U-Haul 48 hours after her last radiation treatment. Absolutely no problems whatsoever. Her fatigue disaffected. I don't think she had a nap for over a year, maybe two. How important nutrition is in our health is absolutely amazing. And until you see something like that firsthand, you have no real appreciation for it. We eat all the time, and one of the things that I really try to emphasize is you have to have really good gut health. In other words, everything has to be balanced in our gut. And then you have to have good cellular health. And there's things that we can do to improve that. But that being said, let's go ahead and start into the program here today. I've never been associated with the medical or pharmaceutical industry. I love my chemistry degree. I got 5 total academic degrees, all in different subjects. But what I love to do with my chemistry nowadays is I look at the human body at the cellular level, chemically speaking. I look for cause and effect relationships. Chemically, what's causing this to happen? Can I speed it up? Can I slow it down? Can I shut it down completely? And depending on what the nature of the beast is, sometimes I may want to have something speeded up a little bit or shut down. So if you can figure out how to make that happen, that to me is I'm treating a cause of a problem. If I know this happens and I can stop that from happening, well, maybe there's a chance that I don't get to the end result. But we treat symptoms. That's what most of our medical industry does. They have a moral and legal obligation. If they know you have a problem, there's a solution. It's usually a pill. Might be surgery, might be something else, but usually it's a prescription drug. But when you're treating a symptom, the same cause has never been addressed. You're just treating how you're feeling or looking or whatever. So the real cause is still continuing, and all you're doing is making yourself feel or look better. As always, this presentation is for awareness and education. I finished up the section on vitamins and minerals, and I'm now on specialty nutrients. But it got me to thinking, multivitamins. I can't tell you how many people, I take this multivitamin. What do you think about that one? Well, I don't take multivitamins, so I don't know. Well, can you look at this and tell me? I can look at the back. And anyway, taking a multivitamin is an option that you're saying, I'm going to get my nutrients from the pill rather than from my food. And it's really difficult to replace a balanced diet just by taking pills. I tell people, read the labels. You ought to become an expert at label reading. If you are really and truly concerned about your health, then read the labels. I was at a book event last night, author event, and people come up and they say, well, here and here, I got one book here on this one book on this one. I say, well, what's important to you? And I said that to 4 or 5 people, and they were not able to answer the question. I thought that was amazing. In fact, well, okay, I wanted to improve my health. Well, what are you really interested in? They were not able to define that in terminology that, okay, this is really what you want. So I started asking 20 questions and we get down to something. But I look at the labels on these things, and first thing I see, vitamin E. Well, it's a tocopherol. Usually it's listed as a alpha tocopherol, and it's a synthetic, and there's 8 different molecules that make up vitamin E, and they're not in multivitamins. You have to buy mixed tocopherols and mixed tocotrienols to get the vitamin E. And they're not all in one food, so you need a mixture of things. So that, to me, is kind of like a strike one. When it has B12, which is a cobalamin, that gets destroyed in stomach acid. So it's on the label, it's in the pill, you're paying for it, but there's no medical benefit, no health benefit to it. Calcium sometimes is a very difficult one, usually a calcium carbonate. And most of the multivitamins have that minerals, we'll talk about that in a minute, have that calcium in a form that's very unabsorbable. I've seen the same thing with magnesium as an oxide. And I've even talked to a couple researchers. Oh, we found this to be the best. I'm sorry, I totally disagree. K2 is one that I do take as a pill because I just don't take all the kinds of foods that it's in. But when you start looking at certain kinds of vitamins and nutrients, they're not always all regulated by the FDA. So you end up with different levels of processing, et cetera. But generally speaking, you take your pill, not a problem. May not totally solve your your issue, but it'll make you feel better. If you take too many of them, now you may have a problem, upset stomach. Depending on which particular iron or vitamin A or something else in there, if you get too much of a particular component of that multivitamin or multimineral, you may end up having a potential cardiovascular concern, liver concern. And they found out 450,000, I think I looked at that study yesterday or today, there was no real reduction in risk for cancer or cardiovascular or even dementia issues with regard to multivitamins. So there's no gain other than the fact that, okay, I'm not eating all my greens. I'm going to get my vitamin B from pills or whatever. Same thing with multi-mineral. On the multi-mineral, you're getting a lot of the trace minerals that are not necessarily provided in the multivitamin. But when you get that wider range of trace minerals, there are some probable lowering of risks dealing with your health. Most cases, you want to take a multivitamin or a multi-mineral with some kind of meal fats. Again, read the labels, know what the limits are. Take a look not only at what you are getting on the pill label, but what foods are you eating? If you're eating a lot of foods that have high amounts of iron or vitamin A or something else, and you're looking at a high amount in the 2 or 3 pills you're taking, it might be a time to stop and say, hey, I really need to be aware of how much I'm getting. Again, if you're having a problem with too much of a multi-mineral, constipation, upset stomach, diarrhea, and depending on how much you're taking from what might be considered a large amount, an overdose, might have some liver issues. But if you were to say overdose, multi-mineral, multivitamin, there are lots and lots and lots of symptoms there. So if you are in that category, do a little research. Resveratrol. It's a polyphenol. It's found primarily in berries, red wine, grapes. Does a decent job at lowering blood pressure, lowers your blood fats, your triglycerides. Also considered to be an anti-aging nutrient, very brain protective. People take it on a regular basis, generally see a level of their insulin sensitivity improving. Great antioxidant, great anti-inflammatory. It activates a thing called AMPK, which is an activated protein kinase. From a cellular level, absolutely, positively, that's what you want to be doing. Cellular health. It metabolizes glucose, helps with the joint pain. Probably some level of cancer suppression, a lot of research being done now in that particular area with resveratrol. I was getting ready to say, resveratrol by itself is not that bioavailable. In other words, you can take the pill, but maybe 3%, 5%, 10%, depending on a number of factors, may actually get into the bloodstream, get into the body where it needs to be done. But black pepper extract called piperine, when it's added to resveratrol, turns out that, whoa, now you're getting 30% instantly. It just cranks it up like nobody's business. So not really a problem if you're not taking resveratrol at all. It's not an essential any way, shape, or form. You take too much of it, stomach becomes an issue, headaches, vomiting, diarrhea. Also get some level of flatulence, gas, possibly liver dysfunction, potential drug interaction. So if you're having some issues there, definitely look at back off, take just exactly what's recommended, no extra. Potential kidney issues too. Curcumin, one of my favorite. To me, this is the second best molecule for pain relief and for anti-inflammatory issues in the body. We typically see disease starting as chronic low-level cellular inflammation. That low level over time being untreated with an antioxidant or an anti-inflammatory now starts having DNA mutations, starts having a lot of problems with regard to disease starting over time. Curcumin gets right down there to the cellular level, gets there and disrupts that very first arachidonic acid response to whatever is going on that's caused that free radical damage or that inflammatory response. Gets right down into that cellular and just pow, just knocks it right. And that's why I like that one so much. The number one is it's a xanthone in a mangosteen rind, the outer carp. It's called gamma mangosteen. There's about 40 different xanthones in the mangosteen fruit. It's not mango, but a mangosteen. And that one to me is slightly better than curcumin, but they're both exceptionally well done. But piperine gives you that extra boost, more bioavailability. Definitely manages oxidative stress and inflammation at a great, I mean, just Superman level. Addresses metabolic syndrome. Really good at pain control, anxiety, healing. Lots and lots and lots of things that curcumin can work. Now, if you're taking and buying your turmeric in the store, and you're grating it, or you're taking a spoon and taking the skin off and chopping it up, and add some black pepper to whatever you're cooking. That will also help there. There's a small percentage of people that have a sensitivity to curcumin, and they may end up having a little bit of nausea, upset stomach, reflux, diarrhea. Also, curcumin, because it works so well at that cellular level, disrupting the pain sequence of things, or the disruption of the inflammatory responses, you may end up seeing some limiting effects of aspirin, ibuprofen, and acetaminophen. But again, to me, it's probably the number one go-to when I have any kind of pain issue. Quercetin, another great nutrient, antioxidant, really good for your cardiovascular health. As with anything, if you're pregnant, breastfeeding, you've got to be really, really careful of what you're putting in your body from a food, from a medicine, from a nutrient perspective. You have any issues, talk to your pharmacist, talk to your doctor. Sometimes quercetin, when you're pregnant or breastfeeding, can create a kidney issue. They're looking at quercetin as a possible cancer treatment. A lot of nutrients have beneficial properties when berberine, I think, is one very good one. For instance, I don't think we're covering berberine today, but it's one that, again, is being looked at as a potential cancer treatment. No known interactions with quercetin and other foods and nutrients. Generally speaking, take it with fats, some kind of meal. The only thing I could find that says, hey, I can, again, increase the bioavailability of quercetin is with bromelain, again, another nutrient. Taurine, an essential amino acid. Our bodies make it. We usually get it from meat and fish. But sometimes our bodies can't make it enough. And so we've got to look at, what am I eating? If I'm a vegan and I'm not getting my protein from fish and meat, then I may have a problem with taurine. It's used to treat cardiovascular disease, obesity, hepatitis, a lot of issues in there. It does have, if you're on lithium for a particular reason, absolutely talk to your doctor before you start supplementing with your taurine. Obviously, the foods you're eating are probably fine, but again, if you're on a lithium protocol of some sort, make sure you talk to your doctor. Taurine maintains hydration, electrolyte levels, supports the immune system. And when we're sick, our bodies need more of it. So it's one of those go-to things when we're not feeling too well. PQQ. I like PQQ. It's prolyl, quinolinquinone. They talk about it being a longevity vitamin. It's made by bacteria acting on certain kinds of fruits and vegetables. But the part that I like about PQQ is that it passes through the blood-brain barrier. Not many things do, but PQQ does. And we have certain antioxidants, anti-inflammatories that can be regenerated. In other words, vitamin C can typically be one molecule, can be regenerated as if it were 6 individual molecules. So you get 6 times the punch with one molecule. So I have a free radical down there. It grabs a hold of an electron on a neutral molecule. It causes to be a free radical. The vitamin C comes in there, donates an electron, everything's stable. But typically, when you donate that electron, that donor molecule becomes, well, vitamin C doesn't, because it can be regenerated 6 times. PQQ can generally be reconstituted 25,000 times. It's almost like an army, one molecule being used over and over and over and over again. But you also need to you have to have an adequate amount of glutathione to have that PQQ regenerated each time. For enhancement with PQQ, CoQ10, not cobalamin. I'll think of it in a moment. Anyway, very good with brain issues, fatigue, anxiety, depression, anger, even confusion. It's just a really good molecule to have. It does deplete glutathione because glutathione is that molecule that keeps the PQQ going and going and going. So sulfur, vitamin C, selenium, turmeric are all necessary to keep that whole process going. Ubiquinol is CoQ10. Ubiquinone actually is the CoQ10, but ubiquinol is what our bodies make. Probiotics. We talked about having gut health. Well, probiotics are live microbes that live in we eat either by foods or whatever, and it keeps a balance. You got bad bacteria, you got good bacteria, but you need a healthy balance in order for your gut to provide healthy immune response. So I'm looking at gut health, cellular health, absolutely imperative if you want health overall. Diet, sleep, our moods, frequent health issues, all could happen because our gut gets out of balance, especially during chemotherapy. If you're taking probiotics, this is something you need to talk to your doctor about, because chemotherapy and probiotics may, depending on the chemotherapy you're using, may not be the best thing at the time. Might be a lot of extra gut and stomach issues you don't need. Prebiotics. Well, we know what probiotics are. They're the opposite of antibiotics. But prebiotics is kind of like the fertilizer that in the gut. This is indigestible fiber, and it provides a nice, healthy platform for gut bacteria to grow and thrive. It improves our digestion, eases constipation, really facilitates mineral absorption into the body, regulates cholesterol, strengthens our immune system. A lot of things prebiotics do. We find them typically in foods like onions and leeks and bananas and avocados, blueberries, and more. If you have IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, you might be seeing a lot more bloating, diarrhea, gas, because you're disrupting, because of the IBS, you're disrupting what is in balance and creating another there's a word, I can't think of it. We'll just move on. MSM. Took some twice today, actually. I tweaked my back yesterday. Methylsulfonyl-methane. MSM is a provider. When we go to sleep at night, we finally get to sleep, our bodies repair themselves. Muscles, whatever it may happen to be, sulfur is needed for most muscle problems. So you have healing going on. But MSM, because it provides sulfur, is a really good pain relief. Controls swelling, chronic constipation, ulcers, diverticulitis. A lot of people take MSM for obesity, hypertension, sometimes gum disease, snoring, and there's a lot of others, infections, dementia. They're finding it as a potential treatment for cancer, a lot of different infections. Again, it's amazing how many things that MSM can be used for. Found in fruit, corn, tomatoes, tea, coffee, milk, and generally pretty safe at just about anything that's out there at a recommended level. Generally not a problem. But if you're going to have a problem, you're going to see it pretty quickly. Let's see here. So I think what we're going to do is I'm going to leave this one till next time, because all I'm talking about is all these other ones that I would have talked about today, but I'm not going to talk about it. So next week, I'm going to see if we can wrap this whole thing up and find out the best way to say, what do you really need to know about nutrition that's going to make you a super player in the world of health? So with that, I am going to turn everything back over, and I look forward to seeing you next week on Talking Heads on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. red.olaughlin out. Take care. Bye.
This program has been brought to you in part by Zane Carson Carruth, etiquette and protocol expert, international award-winning author, television show host, and philanthropist. Thank you to Zane, our official diamond sponsor for USA Global TV and Radio in partnership with E360 TV. Zane is the author of The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever, as well as many other children's books. She's also the television host of Elegance, Polished Demeanor, and Posh Living, seen on USA Global TV and Radio.
Hi, my name is Zane Carson Carruth, and I'm the author of this book, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever.
Reading is magic. Studies have shown that reading to your children lays the foundation for greater success in life. Reading helps develop language and vocabulary skills. It helps improve memory, and it encourages curiosity and inspires creativity. The benefits are immeasurable, and as a parent, you'll benefit too. In only 10 or 15 minutes a day, you'll be creating more memories and a bonding experience that will last for years to come. So take time to read to your children. Read them books about things that engage and interest them. Tales of fairies and magic fascinate children, and as everyone knows, the Tooth Fairy is at the top of the list. If your child loves magic, wands, adventure, and what child doesn't, you'll love reading them books from the trademarked series The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever. Follow along as Abella, the world's first tooth fairy, accidentally starts the tooth fairy tradition. Learn the tricks of being a professional tooth fairy in the book Abella Starts a Tooth Fairy School. Your child's imagination will soar as you read the adventures of Abella and her magic wand. These wonderful books are available at worldsfirsttoothfairy.com and at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Walmart.
To learn more about Zane, contact her through her website, zanecarruth.com, ZANECARRUTH.com. Order Zane's books and merchandise. Contact her about being a keynote speaker at your next event.